Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Fire Up and happy Labor Day to you folks out there. Hope you had a great Labor Day, enjoyed time with family, and as well as the 3 day weekend. This is our Labor Day special, and I am pleased to be joined by one dynamite crew. And we'll start with Candy Ebling. Welcome back, Candace.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. And George Icorn, I'm going to let you promote your book from the outset. So let everybody know who you are. Go with the book, and then I'm going to save the Avi for last.
Okay, yeah, great to be on the show again. Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air from Arcadia Press tells the story of Michigan and Detroit sports broadcasting history, going all the way back to our original guys like Ty Tyson and Harry Heilman, all the way to the likes of Bernie Smilovitz and Don Shane and Brad Galley, guys that are on the air right now and everywhere in between. Of course, the great Ernie Harwell is mentioned in the book. Some great pictures there too. And Scott, our host, Scott Morgenroth, is in the book as well, featured with a couple of great guys, man. Muhammad Ali, Jimmy Connors. And so there's a link on the South Florida Tribune website at the end of my columns under Motor City Tribune. Also, you'll find a link and get a copy of it. You'll learn a lot about Michigan and Detroit sports history. And glad to be back on the show again.
Well, this is our special Labor Day special. And I just want to let everybody know that we're going to be talking about the wild weekend in college football. With that said, no further delay. The man with a short first name, AVI, I can even say that like that, okay? Avi, why don't you go out there and let everybody know who you're about and give yourself a...
How's everybody doing? Pleasure. Appreciate having me on. My name's Avi Greenwald. I was with ESPN or NSPN. I'm sorry. Was covering the Jacksonville Jaguars for a bit there. Was also covering UFC, MMA as well, locally here in Orlando. And I'm really looking forward to joining the team and talking some sports.
Glad to have you. Anybody that can sit next to me in a press box deserves a gold medal. Icorn's done it for years. Avi got an earful when we worked a couple of games together. Kept my email address, my card, subscribe to this channel, which we hope a lot of you folks will do. And while I might as well just get this out of the way early, please subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, youtube.com, hit South Florida Tribune, search, subscribe, that easy. So, yeah, I mean, we're definitely looking forward to having you on, and I know you're going to be a tremendous asset to what we're doing.
Absolutely excited.
Looking forward to finding a spot for you. And what better night than to pull out the Avi on a holiday evening when everybody's probably gained a couple pounds eating all that good food there on the grill. So
there you go.
So with that said, as I alluded to moments ago, this has been a wild weekend in college football. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over 8 interesting games, okay, that stood out to me. Now, mind you, my crew doesn't know what these games are. But for a lot of you individuals out there that go out there and can see my cap, like Florida Boy Network, thank you very much for joining us, Florida Boy Network. Yes, I'm wearing a Miami Hurricanes hat. I make no bones about it. And this broadcast is also being seen on Florida TV as well. So with that said, I have no choice, okay, because we're talking about the U, okay? And I knew this going in to the game, and what I knew, and there was no point spread on it, by the way, the Miami Bethune-Cookman game on Saturday at Joe Robbie Stadium / Hard Rock Stadium. The Miami Hurricanes 70, Bethune-Cookman 13. Now, I was at the game in 2018 when Miami clobbered Savannah State 77-0, which is the largest margin of victory in Miami Hurricanes history. But the irony of this whole thing was FAU quarterback N'Kosi Perry threw for 3 touchdown passes. And Will Mallory, who's currently on this team, actually caught a touchdown pass in that game. So with that said, there'll be some games that we take a little bit more time on and some that don't. So, Avi, you're our Florida resident along with Candace. Give me some brief thoughts about the Miami Bethune-Cookman beatdown.
Well, I'll tell you, the X-Man, Xavier Restrepo had a really good day. He was all over the place with his 5 receptions, 100 yards, had a real big touchdown. They were just getting the ball all over the place. Van Dyke had a really good day as well. Didn't even throw too many incomplete passes, went 13 for 16, 193 yards with 2 touchdowns. So it was a very exciting game. The points just kept coming.
Yeah, they did. I'm glad you brought up Xavier. I talked to him actually in the post game. What a good kid he really is. And let's face the reality: this team here hasn't. They've been playing against each other, and now they had a chance to go out there and hit somebody other than themselves. So, Candy, you were on the field for this game. What were some of the things that you went ahead and picked up while you were down, right where it was all taking place?
Yes, I was down in the trenches taking pictures on the field. So I'm a photographer. So you look for different things. So one of the things I noticed, I didn't know a lot about Bethune-Cookman before going into the game. I was surprised by how many players are on the U's team compared to how many players were on Bethune-Cookman's team, and the size. You could just tell there was a difference. There was obviously playing at home. You're playing in a NFL stadium. Miami plays there, but it's just a different atmosphere. The crowd was obviously way behind the U. But just to see the size difference, and you could tell, and I hate to say this, but there was a talent level difference. You could just see, the guys marching up and down the field. I was standing in the right end zone too, because they kept coming towards me. So got some really good pictures. You'll be able to see them on the South Florida Tribune. They're going to be coming up shortly. We're going to have a story up there with some pictures, but it was a really good day. And University of Miami played really well. Like, they gelled as a team, and you could tell they were well coached. And I have to say, after the game, I was noticing that head coach Cristobal went up to Bethune-Cookman's quarterback and had a really good conversation with him after the game, which I thought was really classy. Really thought that was classy, and a really good game to watch.
Well, bear in mind, the reason why he has such a talent discrepancy is Bethune-Cookman plays in the football championship series, which is a step down, and the Hurricanes FBS football bowl subdivision. So, we know there's going to be a big talent level. And there were a lot of routes over the weekend. I'm not going to get into a lot of them anyways. It's just the reality is I was at the big media day about a month ago, and the energy is a lot different. Manny Diaz gone, Mario Cristobal in, and Mario Cristobal went ahead and coached at Florida International University for 5 years, proceeded to go ahead and coach with Oregon, and went under Nick Saban. So he's a winner all over the place. So I know, George, you don't follow the U a little bit. Any quick perspectives on this game before we go on to the next one?
Well, these games are just mismatches. We know there's so many mismatches at the start of the season. They're almost like exhibition games, but of course the NCAA won't call them that. And unfortunately, this was a huge mismatch, and there were many others too on the schedule, obviously, as we'll talk later. But there's nothing more I can say about it. It was just a blowout. I can't even believe that they trailed at 1 point, 3-0 Miami.
Well, that's an interesting point, George. That first drive looked like a good drive there. And I thought, and at least Bethune-Cookman wasn't going to get shut out with a goose egg. And they didn't play bad in certain stretches, but I enjoyed their first drive, and then they come up with a field goal. So
I think part of it was there's a lot of penalties. I mean, remember, this was the real first game where teams are hitting each other, and there's a lot more penalties. They're working out their kinks. They're gelling. They're trying to, for the first time, hitting against opposing players and stuff like that. And it takes a little time to get that timing down.
Well, you had 56,000 in the building, and you're also introducing a new era with Mario Cristobal. So obviously the energy. All right, Avi, give me your take on this.
It seemed like the Hurricanes really started to really gel though in that second quarter. If you've seen those 28 points they put up were just quick and heavy. Really it is like a tune-up game, obviously. But I'm sure when the real opponents come in, we're going to really get to see what the Hurricanes are made of for sure.
You know, I got a great comment out of the chat room from Florida Boy Network, and thank you very much, Florida Boy Network, for putting this. And it's definitely worth reading from the first letter to the last punctuation mark. Canes need an easy game. One, remember what happened a few years ago against Alabama to open the season, and he is so right. I mean, sometimes these marquee matchups are what they are, but you know, you guys have already mentioned it the whole way, anyhow. So, as far as I'm concerned. Florida Boy, good point. You know, you have some easier ones to get things worked out. And we talk about Tyler Van Dyke only threw 16 passes. I think the one thing I was intrigued about the whole thing really was when the backup quarterback was going to come in when you have a big route, because, you know, at least it's kind of like working out. Well, you know, we'll have a tougher one against Southern Mississippi. And I did ask Van Dyke about it. Glad to get the first one. You know, the quality cup. Yeah, he said we'll be looking at game film. We're not going to be complacent at all about what took place here. We just won't.
It was interesting being in some of the press conferences afterwards. Some of the players said, you know, they didn't say it was like an easy game, but they said that even though they played really well, it's a definite learning that they can take a lot of learning from this game and build on it.
Yeah, good points,
Yeah.
Katie. And Katie she was obviously she in the press room here, making sure that we had a proper video that we're putting on the website. So she handles that in addition to her responsibility. I was glad that she was able to do this. That way she can absorb what we're saying and provide her input as well. Good points, Candy. All right, let's go to another game here. And I think this was an interesting, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it because I have a bunch of games I want to get to. But let's talk about North Carolina 63, Appalachian State 61. And Appalachian State was a home game. And first of all, I want to ask each and every one of you, what is the nickname for the Appalachian State? Candy, do you know the nickname for them?
I do not.
If you don't, that's okay. Say no if you don't. You won't be
Mountaineers.
Huh?
Mountaineers.
I didn't ask you. You were going to be last. But okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just kidding with you.
Mountaineers.
Okay. Avi gave with an assist from Avi. All right.
Thanks, Avi.
Right,
You're welcome.
I told you we were going to have fun with this whole thing, but, you know, this is a little bit easier. George and I all know all too well about Appalachian State, so the Michigan Wolverines. Detroit City Blue, go Blue. Yeah, I definitely love the Wolverines too. But I, unfortunately, had a gut feeling that App State would give U of M a pretty good game, and they did. I mean, a lot of people tend to underestimate these FCS schools and don't do it, or you got to pay for it. And Mac Brown got more than he can handle out in Boone. So, yeah. So, but you know, all I'll say about this before we go into the next game here is it had college basketball written all over it. So, 63.
That score was unbelievable, Scott. You're right. I mean, it was just what a back and forth, especially that fourth quarter. Unbelievable. Appalachian State, the way they came back and fired back. Yeah, they're something to be watched for, man.
Yeah,
I'll tell you a player to watch on North Carolina is quarterback Drake May. Phenomenal day, 4 TDs, 352 yards. He also had 76 yards running on the ground with also a TD in there. That guy was on fire all day. But yeah, Appalachian State as well. Welcome to Division I football, huh?
Yeah, well, they've been in the Sun Belt, Avi, I believe, the last couple of years. So
they're
starting to. I think they're ramping up full time. Good point.
They're showing it up now for sure.
63, 61, college basketball. Let me remind you, folks, this is September 5th, 2022. So if I'm suffering from a disease called dementia, so DUMBMENTIA, and by the way, you won't find it in Webster's dictionary because I made it up. Okay, then you'll know that we have our dates crossed a little bit. But 63, 61 in September, no college basketball. Need I say more? Avi, I love it. But no, we'll have college basketball in a couple months. But for all intents and purposes, we had a little sample size of it in the Battle of North Carolina with the Tar Heels.
Came down to the wire.
All right, let's go on to the next game. All right, and you ready for this one? It occurred in Atlanta, Georgia, 49, Oregon 3, Stetson Bennett. 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, ruined the debut of Oregon coach Dan Lanning. If anybody knows about Dan Lanning, he was an assistant coach for the Georgia Bulldogs. All right, Avi, lead off. What's your perspective on this one?
Well, as we mostly thought, Georgia's strong. They came in just really to prove a point that they belong where they should be. And, just because they lost a ton of players to the NFL, they can reboot and fire out again, and they're ready to go.
Well, Florida Boy Network falls into the acronym GMTA that I also made up, okay? At least in that. Great minds think alike. So, Avi, you and Florida Boy Network, Georgia looks strong, exclamation point. You just tipped your hand. Candy Ebling, some quick thoughts about Georgia and Oregon. Because apparently Oregon didn't have Georgia on its mind good enough, but Stetson Bennett went out there and had a heck of a game. And we all know that Georgia's going to be an elite team this year. I can easily see them going out and potentially getting in the Final Four. So, Candy, some quick thoughts on this one.
I think what impressed me is how Georgia spreads the ball around. Milton ran for a touchdown, McIntosh a touchdown, McConkey a touchdown, Bennett a touchdown. Receiving touchdowns, we had McConkey and Mitchell and Milton. So it's not like it's just one guy beating them all the time. They're spreading the ball. They have a lot of weapons. They're built well and tough.
Okay, George.
Yeah, they are. They're built tough, all right. The NFL loves their pedigree, don't they? All those kids drafted last spring. And another blow to the Pac-12, Scott and my friends. Oregon loses right out of the gate. God, what a lousy performance. I'm sorry by the Ducks. And the Pac-12, they're still smarting from the loss to the Big Ten of UCLA and USC on another level. But yeah, I was disappointed. I thought Oregon would have at least somewhat of a game, but they had no answer for Georgia.
No, they didn't. All right. Well, you know what we're going to do? We're going to go to a game that I actually had a chance to see when I got back from the Canes game. Florida against Utah. Florida wins 29-26. The Gators at home in the Swamp. Billy Napier's debut, and he leaves with an exciting win. And he was on the Nick Saban coaching tree. I know that he was coaching in Louisiana for a smaller school. But Billy Napier, good first act, replacing Dan Mullen. Okay, Mr. Florida, Avi, give me your take on this.
Well, close game. Honestly, it was a matchup between two high-powered teams. I believe both of these teams are probably going to be going pretty far this season. Obviously, Florida as well, again, wanted to reboot after losing what I thought might have been one of their best players in decades in Kyle Pitts. But they brought it. They really stepped up to the plate, and they really stepped it up. Gators showed a lot of poise in this game, and look forward to seeing what they do in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting story. There's a lot of energy with the Florida Gators. We are on the media distribution list for the Gators, and I read that stuff all the time. And, Dan Mullen did a decent job. It's a tough act to follow in Florida. You think about it. Steve Spurrier won a national title. Urban Meyer had some success there. Ron Zook followed, and he didn't do badly there. But the standards are so high with the Gators, it is what it is. So, all right, Candy.
I think I have to give kudos to Richardson. 3 touchdowns rushing. I mean, they really, he stepped up. He was 17 for 24, 168 yards. There was no stopping him. I mean, Utah didn't have an answer for him. And I hate to say that, but you got to be careful because sometimes you become so one-dimensional, although he's a good passer, but rushing, but you got to really watch out for him. I think people are going to game plan for that when they can watch that tape.
George?
Well, another Pac-12 school goes down to defeat, ranked in the top 20. It's unfortunate, but it was a good game. Florida had quite a nice weekend. I'm telling you, Florida and Florida State and Miami. It was a good weekend for the state. But I mean, they just don't have enough firepower, Utah, right now. But they're still going to have a good team, like you were saying, Avi. They're in it for the long haul. They got a good team out there in the Great Salt Lake.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree with you. It was a close game. It could have went either way. Obviously, Florida came up on top, But I definitely can see the Utah being in the mix of the things at the end.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, that was a game that really you hate to see anybody lose, but in the end, the Gators pulled it out. But Utah, I wouldn't worry about them; they'll be fine. So, all right, got 4 more games to get to, and the next one is Ohio State, ranked number 2, against Notre Dame, ranked number 5. Ohio State 21-10 over Notre Dame. There was a defensive battle. C.J. Stroud throws for 2 touchdown passes, but the big story was the fact that Ohio State shut out Notre Dame in the final 42 minutes. All right, Avi, I like leading off with you, so I'm going to continue doing that for the rest of the show.
Well, let's say the game started off pretty slow for a bit there. It looked like the Buckeyes just couldn't get anything going in the first quarter. It was I believe it was 10-3 for a little while there. I'm sorry, 10-7. Notre Dame had the lead for a bit and went deep into the game, and then Ohio State just really started to open it up. C.J. Stroud had an absolutely phenomenal day, really showed that he's the real leader of that team. And, Ohio State has – I believe that if they keep it up, they can really, really make some noise this year. Notre Dame, I also feel that they're pretty good, but they've got some rooms to improve on for sure. The defense really needs to improve a little bit on the edge, but I think within time, Notre Dame probably shouldn't fall too far down.
So, Avi, I'm going to give you a follow-up question. Did you see any vulnerabilities with the Ohio State Buckeyes that teams could really look at the film and find or identify a weakness here, and this is how we can prepare? Because this is, to me, a game of 2 top 5 teams.
Well, I think the Buckeyes' rush defense could use some improvement for sure. As you can see, Notre Dame, they spread the ball a little bit with a couple running backs, didn't get too many yards, but I do believe that the Ohio State's run defense maybe could use a little bit on the inside, a little help.
Okay, George?
Well, I'm disappointed. Obviously, I've been a Notre Dame fan for many, many years, having sipped the Notre Dame cup of tea on a trip I made there over 20 years ago. But they are certainly not the firepower that they were a year ago. It's quite obvious to me. That being said, Ohio State wasn't the firepower either. Yeah. I mean, the Notre Dame defense did a nice job holding them to what they did. And I know the quarterback situation is still new in Notre Dame. There's a lot of new players, a lot of new faces, new head coach. So there's a lot of newness. And like Candy alluded to earlier, these are when you're working out your kinks, when you're trying different things. It's your first game of the year. So that being said, it was a huge gamble for Notre Dame to sign up for this game against Ohio State in the opening weekend of the year. But not to be outdone, it was a good enough matchup. It wasn't as high scoring as I thought it might be. But then again, it's the first game of the year. So, but obviously it puts a huge blemish and a huge black mark on Notre Dame's chance to get to the Final Four, because once you lose out of the gate like this, it's awful tough coming back and cleaning the slate. But it's possible, but it puts a lot on you on a program like this that has high hopes for a national championship.
Candy.
I'm going to have to give kudos to Ohio State's defense. You hold Notre Dame's rushing to 76 yards total, 30 rushes for 76 yards. Passing was 10 of 18 for 177 yards for Notre Dame, whereas Ohio State, they were passing at 223 yards. They rushed for 172 yards. One of the things that Ohio State, I know, did is they passed it to a lot of different players. They had one guy that had 9 catches, but then they had another one had 5. A couple of them had 2 or 3, whereas Notre Dame, they threw to one guy 5 times and then 5 other guys once. So the Ohio State's defense really came to play against Notre Dame, and they got the job done.
Very good. All right, well, let's go to a team that has actually Notre Dame's former coach, and we're gonna talk about the Florida State LSU game. Seminoles defeated LSU 24-23 out at Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge. all I can say is welcome to the South, Brian Kelly. I know you're going out there working on your Southern accent. The only thing I can say about Brian Kelly, at least you got a contract wealthy enough where you won't ever have to work again, because they're going to be tough down at LSU. So, Avi, again, Brian Kelly getting a rude awakening against Florida State, a team I believe is on the uprise anyhow. And he's going to find out that competition in the South is really, really challenging. And that these schedules, wait till he gets to the SEC and starts playing those games. So with that said, I'm going to hand it off to my football counterpart, Avi, and give me your thoughts about Florida State and LSU.
Well, first, I want to say, Brian Kelly, welcome to the SEC. Obviously, it's not going to be as easy. I don't want to say easy, but it won't be the same competition like you had when you were at Notre Dame. We know you broke Knute Rockne's record for the most wins, which you would think is an absolute unbelievable record. But SEC's a new breed, a new ball game. But obviously it was an ACC team, Florida State Seminoles. Florida State Seminoles came to play. LSU had to really dig deep to get back into this one. It looked like it was going to happen. But unfortunate, all it comes down to is an extra point being blocked. And what do you know? LSU loses the first game of the season. But I'll tell you what, it was a very, very exciting game. A lot of things happening. Jordan Travis had a very good game. I thought he played very well. LSU, I wouldn't call him out yet, but they got some work to do. Brian Kelly's definitely going to have to hit the drawing board and figure some things out. But I believe the Florida State's no slouch either. So it should look really exciting to see what both teams do going forward.
I'm not going to call them out. All I can tell you is this. Okay, the kicker's in the doghouse already. So that's item number one. I feel bad for you kickers, but you are in the doghouse, especially when Brian Kelly's trying to work on his Southern twang, which is about as artificial as some of the food we eat out there. Mm-hmm. And number two, when I think of that situation down there, all I need to do is go back to Wisconsin. That Brett Bielema had a great job with the Badgers, went to Arkansas, and he found that the SEC was a different animal. So Bielema goes from the Big Ten to the SEC. I believe he's actually back in the Big Ten. I think he's with Illinois now, isn't he? I'm almost sure. So I think he'll do better out there turning it around. And with that said, I'm going to go to my Wisconsin resident crack person, Candy Emling. You can go out there and give us the exact thing with Bielema, but let's talk about the LSU game against Florida State, Can.
You know, it was a pretty even game. Passing yards 260 to 209, rushing 132 to 139. Close game. I think they got to clean up the fumbles. They had the dropsies, but again, you see a lot of that more in the first game of the year. First time people are hitting you. It was a good game all around. Good game for Florida State. And hats off to them.
By the way, getting some activity in the chat room. Want to thank Ralph Williams for chiming in. The Iowa game was crazy. So, he talked about Iowa. He probably watched a fair amount of college football. And another guy who I really, really like that I've had on this show before, or Josh Kirby. One of the finest young guys I've ever met. Good evening, all. Hope everything is well. You know what, Josh? Knowing you, my life is in a much better place because he's done a really good job on our network. And Josh, we appreciate your input as well. So, Candy, did you do any research on Brett Bielema, Australia? Or are you working on that now?
I'm working on that right now.
All right. Well, let me know when you have it, George. Your thoughts about the Florida State?
He is at University of Illinois.
Right. Okay. So,
correct.
So obviously, he went from Wisconsin to Arkansas, right?
Correct.
And then made his way back to the Big Ten. Well, I only have 2 words for you.
No, made for primetime audience. Definitely that game last night. But let's not forget, Florida State almost kicked themselves in the rear end too, fumbling the ball at the 1 yard line. Man. Come on. And then letting a team go down 99 yards practically all the way down. And that crazy 5-minute delay on those referees can't make up their damn mind. Stupid things, and then the same guy, you let the same guy block the punt I heard that it was the same kid that blocked the field goal that blocked the extra point. Okay, so Brian Kelly, you didn't do a good job on special teams at all. You got a big F on that one. Your punt returner drops 2 punts. Sloppy. LSU looks horrible. I'm sorry. Florida State deserved to win that game, despite the fact that they allowed a 99-yard drive with the last seconds of the game.
Yeah, Mike Norvell will do a good job there. He really will. Give him time. He's a proven coach. And I only have 2 words for Brian Kelly. Okay. And I will use them in my general American dialect, not what he considered his Southern twang that he inherited from voice improvement in phonetics, wherever the heck he found it. Okay. Good luck. Period. Okay. Now I'm going to make this a very fun part of the show. Okay. And when I mean fun, you guys are going to get it. I don't expect you guys to give me big answers on these, but we're going to have fun. We all talk about week 1 in college football, and you're going to mention, and I normally won't be able to get an opportunity to mention these names first. So I'm going to ask everybody a particular question. We're going to talk about New Mexico and Maine. New Mexico 41, Maine nothing. And New Mexico was a home team. My only question to my crew is this, okay? Avi, you make me nervous. I'm going to make you wait last, okay? So you'll know what I mean. Candy, give me the nickname of either of these 2 teams. If you don't know it, don't be embarrassed because the average individual would probably struggle. But do you know them? Yes or no, Candy?
I do not.
Okay, George, you know the names?
Lobos, right?
All right, go and give me the other one.
Let's see. The Miami Cougars.
No, Maine. University.
Maine Cougars.
Okay. Avi?
What are we talking? New Mexico State?
No, New Mexico.
The Lobos?
Okay. You're both right on that. Give me Maine.
A name on the team?
Yeah, just give me that
The nickname for Maine, whatever.
I told you this is going to be a fun exercise, guys. And get it right. This is why I told you the wild weekend in college football. You never know. I gave you guys 6 easy ones to talk about. You think I was going to go out there and leave the 2 last games or anybody could predict? So for a lot of you people that are tuning in for the first time, I'm going to try any different thing to get people thinking. And if a lot of you folks are in the chat room know these names, don't hesitate to fire them in. So after all, you're tonight. This is Fire Up, and I hope I've got you fired up here on this day. So you take a crack at Maine. Do you know? Don't be embarrassed.
Black Bears.
You know. Huh?
Black Bears.
Didn't you have your guess?
Yes, but I'm having fun.
That's it.
All right, so you are. I guess that's what makes it such a fun show. All right, Avi.
Yeah.
Did you know that there was such a black bear? Black bears, Avi?
Yeah, the Black Bears. Yeah, I mean, sure, up in Maine.
You know what? I'm cutting this one off because Candy let the cat out of the bag. All right. Well, anyways, all you need to know, folks, for all you college football junkies, New Mexico Lobos 41, Maine Black Bears, nothing. All right. There you go. So that's one. Now, I've got a very interesting one. And I'll tell you why I picked this one up, okay? It's because I like to drive up I-75 to get to Detroit. So one of these schools happens to be on the way. I'm going to give you the score first, okay? Eastern Michigan 42. They're the home team. Eastern Kentucky 34. So with that said, and now you know what, Candy Ebling, I'm making you wait to the end after what you just pulled.
Okay.
She's a smart girl, though. Love having her on there. All right, George, take a crack at these 2.
Well, Eastern Michigan, obviously, in my own backyard, Ypsilanti, Rynearson Stadium, and always playing second fiddle to U of M, obviously, and straight down the road.
Give me the nickname. That's all I want.
Oh, the Eastern Michigan University Hurons.
No, that used to be their name.
Gotcha there.
Until they started going out there and banning these Indian names. So do you know the real name, George?
Warriors.
Nope. Okay. So you don't know the Eastern Michigan, and I don't think you'll get Eastern Kentucky, will you, George?
No.
Okay, good. At least you're honest about it. All right, Avi. Look at Katie. For all I know, she's probably researched it.
So we got the Eastern Michigan Eagles,
Okay.
Yes.
42, and the Eastern Kentucky Colonels, 34.
Avi, you're the best.
Ah.
Okay, very good. Candy, Did you actually go ahead and research it so you would have got
did.
it right?
I did.
I made you laugh, but Avi got you on that. George, I'm disappointed in you, sir, that you didn't know that they were the
I'm
Eagles.
sorry. I go with the original names, the
Oh,
Hurons.
okay. Most people didn't know the Hurons, but that's why I put it out there.
Well, it's
And
kind of like Scott. You go for Joe Robbie Stadium instead of Hard Rock.
that's true.
It'll always be Joe Robbie to me, for sure.
Mhm.
Always.
There you go. GMTA, Avi, great minds think alike. Yeah, all right. First of all, whether you guys even realize it or not, I interviewed Joe Robbie when he was the owner of the Miami Dolphins when I was covering the Dolphins actually back in the 80s at the Fort Lauderdale Strikers game. And he told me I'm going to build this stadium because he called the Orange Bowl Museum and didn't want to play there anymore. So, and here we are. And little did he know that parcel of land would turn himself into the Miami Dolphins Performance Center. You got tennis over there. You got Formula One. My goodness, what they have built there is unbelievable. So, all right. Well, you know what, Avi, you're MVP tonight.
I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Technically, you got the Colonel's. Now, I don't know if you were researching it either, or maybe not. When you got electronics, but see, I learn a lot of different things on the show. I got very smart people on here. I know that they're going to have the electronic device somewhere. So I'll have to try to come up with some more off-the-wall things. The best part about doing the show is we do get to entertain and inform you. And when I have panels so smart, like Candy Evelyn seems to. Now, I enjoy the research, Candy, on some of the other stats that you rambled off. But when you start cheating on the nicknames, that's another story. Of course, Avi, I can't put nothing past you because you're in the business anyways. And Icorn, now, what can I tell you? We've only been working over 42 years, so I'm not worried about it.
I'm not either.
You make your contribution in more ways than one can ever imagine. Folks, this is Fire Up. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Mad Mod. Let me go over some information. Subscribe to the South Florida Tribune on our YouTube channel or visit www.southfloridatribune.com and follow us on Twitter at Tribune South. To advertise, call 954-304-4941. The audio portion of the show can be heard on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, I'll tell you what a great time tonight. And I appreciated all the participation in the chat room as well. With Florida TV, Florida Boy Network, Detroit City TV. Glad to have you on here. Ralph, Josh Kirby, and all you other folks that have turned in. So good first act. I do want to point out one other thing. I want to say rest in peace to my Aunt Betty Leishman. Passed away on Saturday at the age of 85 due to cancer. So Aunt Betty Leishman, rest in peace. You'll always be missed. And one of the finer people you can ever meet. Never had a mean bone in her body, but I know she's in a better place. Mention that because cancer stinks, and I hope that they can find any way to cure the different things. But for that woman, to me, is one of the biggest warriors I have ever seen. Anyhow, she fought off and beat cancer so many times. But when an 85-year-old woman gets brain cancer, you know her days are really numbered, and her days were really numbered. And I had an opportunity to do things. So I'm looking forward to a lot more. I work with the Miami Hurricanes as well. And I tell you what, I couldn't think of a better crew to have on a Labor Day night than the three individuals that came on tonight, Candy. So with that said, okay, George, why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can get a hold of me at SNG Sports 99. I'm also on LinkedIn under George Icorn or gicorn@yahoo.com. And you can get a copy of my book. There's a link to it on Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air via the South Florida Tribune website.
Okay, Avi.
Well, you can find me at Twitter handle, Greenwald Aviel, full name. You can also find me with NSPN as well, NSPN on Facebook from all the Jaguar coverings. Yeah, that's about it right for now. You can find me on Facebook, Avi Greenwald, obviously.
And Avi Greenwald has earned himself a spot on our network. I'm going to be plugging him in for a lot of shows. So you're going to be seeing more of this.
Look forward to it. Thank you.
I gravitated until we became friends in Jacksonville now. Obviously, reached out to us a week ago asking if he didn't mind coming on. And I said, absolutely not do I mind. I enjoyed the time we spent up at the Jacksonville Jaguars press box. As far as I'm concerned, I think the best part about our industry is all the different people that you meet. Avi was just the latest one out there. So, Avi, I'm so glad you sent us an email, and now you earned your way on this network. All right, Candy, go ahead.
So if you like the picture version of videos, find us on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. hit subscribe, see all of our different shows. If you liked the written version, go to www.southfloridatribune.com. If you have comments, show ideas, email us, southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or listen to us podcast wherever you get your podcast, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Google, all of those places. Any place you get your podcast, listen to us. Please subscribe. And thanks for having me tonight, Scott.
Yeah, you're welcome. Candy Ebling, obviously, her broadcasting role will be increasing. She'll be appearing on Fire Up Wisconsin, and she's doing a little bit of stuff for Sideline Sports. So we have a good partnership that we're developing with Sideline Sports as well. Folks, all I can tell you is if you've watched the show and you know that the New Mexico is the New Mexico Lobos, the Maine Black Bears, Eastern Michigan Eagles, Eastern Kentucky Colonels, and as far as I'm concerned, at least you know 4 more nicknames that you didn't know going into this broadcast, in addition to a lot of the great things that occur for a wild weekend in college football. We have a really busy lineup this week. To give you a basic overview, tomorrow night we have 108 Stitches baseball talk that'll be on, and we have the Sports Exchange that'll be on later in the weekend. A lot of other great episodes as well. So stay tuned for updates by following us wherever you can. We already mentioned it, so there's a lot of good stuff in the works. But great first act, Avi. And I always like to find different crews, and I definitely feel like I hit a whole grand slam, a home run with this group. And you never know, this group could be paired up again on this very show, Fire Up. I like what I saw here tonight, and you guys blended well. I just know what I can get away with, what I can't, because I have a couple of shrewd individuals here, and they know who they are. Icorn, you're screwed anyways, but Avi and Candy, they got you licked.
It's been a pleasure.
All right. So meanwhile, on behalf of Avi Greenwald, Candy Ebling, George Icorn, my name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fire Up. Until the next time, meanwhile, take it easy, be safe. I know COVID's out there, so please make the necessary precautions to stay out of trouble. We don't want nothing to happen to you because we care about every one of you out there. So thanks again for joining us. Once again, to the folks in the chat room, thanks for your participation tonight. Good evening, everybody, and hope you had a great Labor Day. Bye-bye now.